This question asks us to calculate the relative risk. I'll also compare it to calculating the odds ratio. So in this question, we're supposed to calculate the relative risk of flying. So flying is as if it's like some sort of disease, but it's not really, it's not that bad to be flying. But what's the relative risk of flying for birds that have long beaks? So with relative risk, you want to calculate probabilities. Out of all the birds that have long beaks, what is the probability that you select one and it flies? That's the first question you want to ask. And so that's 11 out of 14. That's the rough probability of picking a long-beaked bird and finding out that they have the condition of flying. There's 11 out of 14 total. So that's the probability of picking a long-beaked bird and the bird is able to fly. And you want to divide that by the probability of picking a non-long-beaked bird and having the probability that they fly. So that probability is 7 out of 20. Okay, and then I'm sure you can compute it from there, break this down to a decimal, break this down to a decimal, and then divide those two. But the big thing is like, well, that's relative risk. What do we do if it's an odds ratio? If it's an odds ratio that we're asked to calculate for it being a bird that has a long beak and flying, you want to calculate the odds in the numerator, divide by the odds of the denominator. So long beak, the odds of getting a long beak, it's 11 out of 11 that do and 3 that do not fly. And for not being a long beak, there's 7 out of 13. So these are odds, these are probabilities, right? So if you're asked for a relative risk, you want to calculate a probability, which is where you take a certain quantity, divide by the total. Okay. If you want odds, then you take that certain quantity and divide it by the other option by 3. Okay. So I'll leave this, I can do it. This is the part students usually don't have trouble with though, right? The numerator, I got something like this, 0.786 around. Maybe I need more decimals though. The denominator, I got 0.35. So for the relative risk, I got 2.25 roughly, but I might have messed up because I should have carried out the decimal in this one a little more. And for the odds ratio, 3.6 repeating. Then do divide that by 7 over 13. So it's 0.538. If you divide those two, odds ratio got 6.815.